Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy book recaps. I'll have linked in the description my past couple book recaps of the month that I've done if you need some inspiration. And yeah, let's just get into it, I guess. Grab a snack or tea, coffee, anything, sit back and enjoy, and let's talk about books. One of my favorite things. So in the month of June, I actually made a way through quite a bit of books. So one, I was pretty proud of myself, and two, I read some really great books that I'm excited to share with you guys. So the very first book I actually don't have, but I'll put a photo up here on the screen. It's The Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. And it's actually the second book in the series of the Knox Mount series. I read the first one last month, if you want to check that out. Like I said, it'll be linked in the description for you guys. And I really enjoyed the second book. It was about Nash, Knox's brother, who is the main character of the first book, and Lena, and it's another romantic trope, a lot of spicy scenes. So if you're into that, I mean, it's not like rated R like 50 Shades of Grey, but there are some spicy scenes, and it's kind of in the similar realm of storyline in terms of the romance that unfolds, where he's very closed off and so is she, and they're kind of like tethering between this sexual tension and chemistry and, you know, wanting to fall in love but scared. And then the background story that started in the first book is continuing on in the second book, which is really nice. I don't really know what I was expecting for the second book because I haven't read a series in a long time. I think honestly since I read Twilight when I was way young, and I wasn't sure how the second book was going to go. I wasn't sure if it was going to follow Knox and Naomi's love story. I wasn't sure if it was going to follow along their love story and also kind of the mystery that was going on in town. I wasn't sure if it was going to follow that or if it was going to be a different narrative, which it's the same backstory of the mystery being unsolved, but also then it's new character development of his brother, Knox's brother Nash, and another character, Lena, which I ended up really enjoying, and I actually love Lucy Score's writing, so I would highly recommend it. The book is about 500 pages, so it's a pretty hefty one, but I feel like her writing is so entertaining that it's very easy to read pretty quickly. I don't have it because I returned it back to the library, and I know it's a hot commodity because the third book is actually coming out on September, I think it's 3rd. The third book is Things We Left Behind, which I believe is more character development on two other characters in the book. And I'm assuming it's going to continue on with the story, the back storyline. So I'm really excited to read it, and I'm anticipating a new book release, which I haven't, really had in a long time. There's always really big fandoms around books, and now I'm like actually involved in one, which is kind of fun. But I did love the second book just as much as the first. I think I obviously would maybe rate the first book higher because it was the first initial book, and I really loved the story of Knox and Naomi. I thought it was really great. Anyways, I recommend that book. I'll also have all the books that I read linked down in the description for you guys if you want to purchase them. I usually try to find the books through thriftbooks.com, which is just a secondhand book supplier. That way, they're a little bit cheaper and keeping it more cycled in the universe. But also check out your local library. That's where I get all of my books just because it's nice for me to read a lot and not have to expend, because sometimes new books can, you know, add up. So yeah, I'll have that linked in the description. And that was the first book I read. I read that right before I left for my family vacation to Florida. If you guys keep up with me on my vlogs, my family and I went to Florida for a week, and I was really excited that I finished the book so then I could bring a new book on vacation. And the book I brought with me was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I honestly am probably really butchering that, but this book absolutely like changed my life. I had seen so many people talk about this book and spiritual book recommendations, and as you guys know, I like to read a lot of like self-discovery, self-help, spirituality books, because I think it's really enjoyable to, you know, grow myself and evolve and just like keep myself in alignment. And so this has been on my reading list, wish list for so long that I picked it up from the library, and I'm so happy that I did. It's very quick. I think it's only about, yeah, like 175 pages. So I was able to read this while I was on vacation, and it is considered like it's in the fiction section, but the author prefaces the book that it's actually a parallel to his story, which is parallel to all of our stories. So we all can connect to the storyline. So even though it's considered fiction, it is very, very guided spiritually. You know, it's like telling a story, but also there's a lot of wisdom and nuggets in there. And I actually kept a couple pages folded just to keep in mind for myself, but I also just like wanted to share. The general consensus of this book is this boy that's on this journey to the Egyptian pyramids, and he had a dream about them and that he found a treasure at the Egyptian pyramids, and he is making his way trying to attempt to get to the Egyptian pyramids, and he along the way meets these people that basically give him nuggets of wisdom, and they call them omens, and they shed a lot of light on his journey and why we follow our dreams and the true purpose of following your heart and things like that. So it's a very sweet story with a lot of good pieces of wisdom in here. So I just want to share a couple of these with you. Okay, so one thing I want to share is this principle that they talk a lot about, is that the entire universe conspires for you and works for you. So he says, in alchemy, it's called the soul of the world. When you want something with all your heart, that's when you are closest to the soul of the world. It's always a positive force. Everything on earth is being continuously transformed because the earth is alive and it has a soul. We are part of that soul, so we rarely recognize that it is working for us, but it's collaborating in our success. Another overarching theme that I really enjoyed about the book is this conversation around following your dream. They call it in the book your personal legend, and following your dream and your heart desires. And he talks about how you always, when you listen to your heart, you're always in alignment with the universe, because your heart is your truest form of yourself, so it won't ever lead you in a wrong direction. And so he says, the boy understood his heart. He asked it, please never stop speaking to him. He asked that when he wandered far from his dreams, his heart pressed him and sound the alarm. The boy swore that every time he heard the alarm, he would heed its message. And there's a lot of good tokens in here, and I will save some for you, so when you read it, that there's some things that you can enjoy on your own. But I feel like this was very parallel to the timing in my life. I always feel like the universe aligns me with books at the exact time that I'm meant to receive the wisdom. So while I was reading this, I was just basically smiling at the universe and being like, okay, I hear you loud and clear. And, you know, if you're out there like following your dreams, you know that you're always on the right path. So this book is just a good one to remind you that the journey is just as much the blessing as reaching the goal, and just never give up and always follow your heart no matter what. So this book is 100% in my top 5 books I've ever read in my life, and I'll forever recommend it, and I'm sure I'll read it again and again. But yeah, like I said, all these books will be linked in the description. The third book I read this month was Between Two Kingdoms, which I've had this book for 2 months because I was gonna read it last month, but I never ended up getting to it last month. So I was really excited to read it this month, and this book was absolutely incredible. If you have a sensitive spot towards chronic illness or terminal illness, and you're not in a place to really receive the energy around that narrative, I would say maybe not read this. But if you're, you know, in a place that you feel emotionally ready to receive a story around terminal illness in somebody's perspective, then I would highly recommend this, because some of the things are kind of hard to swallow and very graphic because it's a memoir. The author is dealing with a terminal illness, and she talks about her perspective in the hospital and her perspective with her family, her partner, what it was like for her body to change. And it's very raw and vulnerable, and there was a lot of things that are just, you know, strike you at your core because, you know, it's the reality for so many people out there. But, you know, hearing it from almost like somebody's journal is, I don't know, I think it can really open your eyes. Like, I obviously know a lot of people in my life or around me or seen people that have gone through sickness, but when you read something like this, it just always is an eye-opener and reminds me of how much gratitude and blessings I really have in my life to just even be here and be healthy, to be able to like taste food, to walk, to have autonomy and have my independence. This book really shifted my mindset. It's always humble to step back in terms of like reminding me that, you know, my problems are finite in the grand scheme of things, and there is, you know, a silver lining in any challenges that we go through. And I know if people can go through things like this, like I can go through anything. It gives me a lot of strength and courage. And so this book was absolutely incredible. I felt so transformed after reading this. The first part is her story of going through her illness and what it felt like personally. And then the second half is her journey around the world, meeting people that she got in connection with while she was sick, because she started a blog while she was in the hospital, and a lot of people reached out and would tell her about their stories of how they were aligned with her, and you know that she wasn't alone. And she decided when she was in a healthy enough place to go around the country and meet these people and basically get their word of advice, their wisdom, their perspective on life in the parallels that we go between. You know, the title of the story is Between Two Kingdoms, is because she talks about one kingdom being the unwell, and then the other kingdom being the well, like you're in the hospital trying to find your way to the light, to the well side of the kingdom. And, you know, but then when you're on that side of the light, you don't know how to really resubmerge yourself into the world and how to be identified outside of your illness. And it's just a really beautiful perspective. It's really beautifully written, and I loved getting to know her, and I highly recommend this book if you're in the emotional place to receive it. I know some things can be triggering and sensitive, so only if you're ready and in a place that feels okay, I would suggest this. But it was a really beautiful, beautiful read, and I'm excited to see her next book. I started following her on social media, and it seems that she's started writing again. So whatever other publishings she has, I'm gonna try and maybe get my hands on. So I would highly recommend this book. The last book I had this month for June was Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, and I didn't end up getting to this book, so I'm gonna save it for July. I can't believe it's already July. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, this one seems like a little bit of friends with benefits type of situation, but things get a little messy. Obviously, Ugly Love. So I'm excited to read this. I heard good things about it on book recommendations, so I'm gonna save this one for July. And then I wanted to share with you guys, I made a list of books that are on my wish list for July, and I'll just pop up a picture here for you guys to have a reference. But I obviously want to read The Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score, but that obviously won't be till September, so that's on my wish list. The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I have seen so much about this book over on TikTok actually, and it seems like a weekly sort of like check-in book. Not check-in, maybe it's not the right way, but a weekly workbook on coming back to your creative self. And I think it seems like a really great read. There's a lot of good reviews on it, so I'm gonna see if my local library has that book. And then one book that has been on my Pinterest board, my also on my vision boards, is The 7 Laws of Spiritual Success by Deepak Chopra, I think is how you say that. But I've wanted to read this book for a really long time, and I feel like now's the right time to try and search to see if I could find it at my local library, and I'm excited for that one. I've been enjoying that I've had a little bit of like knowledge expansion books and fiction. As you guys know, if you've been watching my book recaps, I used to really only read like self-help, self-discovery and spiritual books, and then I kind of felt like I needed a break because, you know, you don't always have to be like working on yourself and critiquing yourself and feeling like you have to just constantly be in this place of like working on yourself, because we're always working on ourselves regardless if we're reading a book or not. That's just the existence of human beings. So I wanted to incorporate some fiction, which has been really great, but then this month when I read The Alchemist and the memoir Between Two Kingdoms, I was reminded of how much I love personal stories like memoirs and the universal knowledge and receiving those things. So I like want to have a mix of both because they make me feel happy, a little bit of lighthearted, and a little bit of like wisdom is key. So at least for me. I also have been wanting to read The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. You know, I always say knowledge is power, and money is one of those things that's very taboo for people to talk about, but you know, I'm almost 30 and I just feel like it doesn't hurt to gain more knowledge on topics that are pertinent to life. And yeah, I've seen so many people recommend it and that it's a really great book, so that's on my list. And then Living with Joy by Sonia Roman, I think is how you say her first name. But yeah, that looked like a really nice read and was on my wish list. We'll see what my library has for the month of July. But as you guys know, I'll always do a book recap, so don't forget to be subscribed. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this book recap for the month of June. These books were incredible, maybe my favorite month yet. I don't know, but it's definitely up there. So leave your book recommendations in the description for me. Maybe I'll add some of those to my July wish list. And thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one.